Hi there, you're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me, Shreyanshi Singh, and over the next 1 hour, me and Priyanka will take you through news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, tell you which stocks you should be keeping on your radar as well. But first things first, let's take a look at the US markets. Now, of course, stocks did fall in weak trading in the final days of 2024. Santa skipped down in December as well, but the year still produced solid returns regardless. So when you take a look at the S&P 500, surged around 23% last year. 30-stock Dow as well added nearly 13%, and you did have that enthusiasm around artificial intelligence interest rate cuts also perking up the Nasdaq Composite. That's the one that was outperforming within this entire pack, 29% advance, like you can see on your screens as well, 29% thereabout in fact. And that's largely the kind of move that we saw coming in at the end of the year on a year-to-date basis as well. When you take a look at the kind of sectors that we had outperforming, you did have the broad index that rose an average of 1.3% in terms of the final days that we saw coming in, and that's largely the kind of move that we saw coming in holiday shortened week as well. Light on economic data, but Thursday we'll be bringing a look at weekly jobless claims. That is something that we're really watching out for. And in terms of what else, you're looking at the S&P 500 did post the biggest two-year gain coming in since 1997 to 98 as well. So that was something that we were looking at. And in terms of an annual quarterly basis, gains coming in across the board for the entire index. So that's largely the kind of handover that we have. You did also have AI chip darling Nvidia. That's the one that was standing out from that entire pack because that had a 171% gain as well. So largely, that's the kind of handover that we were looking at. And in terms of what futures are doing slightly higher at this point, largely that's the kind of roundup that we're looking at. Other than Nvidia, of course, you do have Apple as well. That is the one that notched that 30% gain coming in thereabout as well. So largely, those are the kind of stocks that we were looking at. And from the top performers, quickly, Palantir, Vistra Corp, as well as Nvidia, those were the ones to look at. So largely, that's the kind of market action that you're looking at after you take stock of how 2024 then was. But on that note, let's get you a quick check going on oil prices because they did fall around 3%, slipping for a second straight year as the post-pandemic recovery in fact stalled. So that's largely the kind of handover that you're looking at. Now, in terms of factors, we've been talking about Beijing's economy stalling, and on the back of that, there are a host of demand concerns, and we've seen that reflected in the price as well. So when you take a look at Brent crude futures, last trading day of the year settled up 65 cents or just about 9/10%, $74 is the kind of level that you were looking at for the last trading day of the year as well. And US WTI as well. On the flip side though, in fact on this same side, in fact settled up 73 cents or about 1%, $71 a barrel is the kind of level that you were looking at even for that one. But you did have Brent prices that slipped for a second year in a row. So that's largely something that we're looking at now. In the last few months, in fact, not just the last few weeks of the trading year, you did have that range-bound trade coming in for oil prices, including Brent. And you did have those demand pressures coming in that were reflected in the price as well, especially towards the last month that we saw coming in, because you did have in September as well Brent crude futures closing below that $70 a barrel mark for the first time since December 2021. So weakness towards the last few months is something that was more pronounced, especially for Brent, but even for WTI on the back of weak Chinese demand, rising global supplies that really offset OPEC Plus led efforts to shore up the market. And that is something that we were looking at, especially when it comes to oil prices. But with that, let's take a quick check going on gold as well, because that is the one that had a perfect storm fueling that rally, best yearly performance coming in for the century's best yearly performance since 2010 in fact for gold. So that was also the one to look out for, and that will be the one to look out for on the back of three factors, the tale of three triggers that we've been watching out for in terms of strong central bank purchases, geopolitical uncertainties, and lastly, monetary policy that is easing somewhat some of that that has been sort of perking up in fact the demand. But with that, let's also take a...
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.